You've spent too much of your life worrying about what everyone else thinks. You've put other people first, even when it hurt you. You've stayed quiet to avoid conflict. You've said yes when you felt no. And somewhere in all of that, you forgot to think about yourself. You stopped asking what you want, what you need, what you feel. That's where the problem begins. When your life becomes about everyone except you, think about yourself always. Means something real. It means you stop waiting for permission to care about your own peace. It means you stop breaking your back to meet expectations that never made sense to you. It means you start showing up for yourself the way you've always shown up for others. This isn't a theory, it's a decision, a daily one. In this video, you'll hear what it really takes to make yourself a priority. Not just once, but for the rest of your life. Chapter 1. Take control of your life without waiting anymore. You've got to take control of your life without waiting anymore. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when the time feels right. Right now, because if you don't, someone else will. And when someone else is making your decisions, you're no longer living, you're following. You're not creating your future, you're reacting to life. That's not how real progress happens. You don't need permission to put yourself first. You don't need everything to be perfect before you move. You don't need the approval of others to start doing what matters to you. That's the truth people don't say out loud enough. Most of what's holding you back is waiting for something that never comes. You may think you need to figure everything out before you act, but you don't. What you need is to start where you are with what you have. Because life isn't going to slow down and ask you if you're ready. It's moving with or without you. And the longer you hesitate, the more behind you fall, not in competition with others, but in the life you could have lived if you had just stepped up and said, "This is my moment." You've got to stop treating your future like it's a backup plan. You've got one life, one shot, and you don't get another one. Waiting has cost people their dreams. It's cost them relationships. It's cost them years. Why? Because they kept thinking they had more time. They kept telling themselves they'd start next month. They'd change next year. They'd take care of themselves after everyone else was okay. But guess what? There's no perfect moment. There's just now. The clock is ticking. Time is moving, whether you're doing something with it or not. And if you don't make decisions for yourself now, you'll wake up one day and realize how much of your life was spent doing what others expected, not what you believed in. You're not being selfish when you choose to take control of your life. You're being responsible. You're showing yourself that your voice matters, that your needs matter, that your dreams are not optional, they're not a bonus, they are a part of your purpose. Most people wait because they're scared. Scared of change, scared of failure, scared of judgment. But fear doesn't go away just because you avoid it. It grows. And every time you choose to wait, you give fear more power. You teach yourself that comfort matters more than progress. And that's how people slowly give their lives away, by playing it safe and calling it patience. You've got to wake up and take ownership. Ownership of your time, ownership of your energy, ownership of your choices. Because once you take control, everything begins to shift. You start walking into rooms differently. You stop apologizing for who you are. You stop shrinking to fit the expectations of others. You begin to take up space, real space. Not because you're better than anyone else, but because you finally realize you matter just as much. And when you start acting like your life matters, people notice. The world starts responding to you in a different way. Opportunities start showing up. Not because they weren't there before, but because now you're finally in position to receive them. No one is going to come into your life and do the work for you. No one is going to knock on your door and say, "I've got your dream ready, all you have to do is take it." That doesn't happen. You've got to do what's uncomfortable. You've got to make decisions that stretch you. You've got to break patterns that have kept you stuck. You've got to speak up when your voice shakes. You've got to move forward even when doubt is sitting in the back of your mind whispering lies. Some people spend their whole life making everyone else happy and then look around one day and realize they're empty. That's what happens when you live for approval instead of living for growth. That's what happens when you keep waiting for someone else to fix what you're capable of changing. You want a better life? Build it. Start now. Start small. Start scared. But start. Don't look around and compare your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20. Focus on your own steps. Focus on showing up daily. Not with perfection, but with intention. Take control of your mornings. That's where it begins. Wake up and don't touch your phone. Don't drown yourself in noise. Take 10 minutes and get honest with yourself. How do you feel? What are you running from? What are you chasing? What are you tolerating that's slowly breaking you down? These are the questions that start the shift. Real change starts with facing the things you've been avoiding. Then take action. One simple thing every day that reminds you that you're in charge. Maybe it's saying no when you used to say yes just to keep the peace. Maybe it's turning down a plan so you can have some time to think. Maybe it's choosing to go for a walk and clear your head instead of scrolling through everyone else's life. These small moves add up. They send a message to your brain. They say, "I'm not waiting anymore. I'm not putting my life on pause while everyone else moves forward." In view of that mindset, that's where strength is built. Because strength is not just lifting heavy things or pushing through pain. It's the quiet choice to keep showing up for yourself every single day. When it's boring, when it's tiring, when no one is clapping for you, when no one sees the effort. That's the kind of discipline that separates those who build a life they love from those who keep surviving a life they resent. And I'll tell you something else. You're allowed to change your direction. You're allowed to outgrow places and people. You're allowed to want more. Don't let guilt stop you. Don't let people who gave up on themselves convince you to slow down. You're not here to stay small so others feel comfortable. You're here to live fully, to live truthfully, to make choices that reflect your worth, not your fears. But that takes courage. It takes courage to say, "I've had enough of waiting. I'm stepping into my life today." Not because you have all the answers, but because you finally understand that no one else can live your life for you. And don't expect everyone to cheer you on when you start. Some people will misunderstand you. They'll say you've changed. They'll say you're distant. But you know what? That's part of it. Growth always looks selfish to those who benefit from your lack of boundaries. Don't shrink back. Keep going, because the people who truly care about you will want to see you grow, not just stay the same for their comfort. You deserve to have a life that feels right to you, one that reflects your values, one that respects your time, one that challenges you to become more, not settle for less. And that kind of life, it starts with a decision, a single moment where you say, "I'm not waiting anymore. I choose me." It won't be easy, but it will be worth it, because nothing is more powerful than a person who finally takes their life seriously. Not in a rigid way, but in a way that says, "I know what I want, I know who I am, and I'm done giving my energy to things that don't grow me." So today, right now, make the shift. No more waiting for a better time. No more asking for permission to change. No more putting your needs last. You got a life to build, and it begins when you take full control and start acting like it matters. Because it does, you do, and it's time you started living like it. Chapter 2. Say no when something does not feel right. If something doesn't feel right, say no. Don't explain. Don't overthink it. Don't convince yourself to tolerate what your gut is already rejecting. Most people spend too much time trying to justify things that already make them uncomfortable, and they call it being polite or being respectful. But in truth, what they're doing is disrespecting themselves. Every time you ignore that uncomfortable feeling, you're teaching yourself to live a life you don't want. All because you're afraid to be misunderstood. Saying no is not about being rude. It's about being real. It's about finally telling the truth, not just to others, but to yourself. Because you know when something feels off. You know when a situation doesn't align with your values. You know when someone's energy is draining you. You don't need anyone else to validate what you already feel deep down. Most people know when they should walk away, but they stay. Not because it feels right, but because they're afraid of what will happen if they speak up. Will they lose a friend? Will someone get upset? Will they look like the bad guy? That fear keeps them silent. It keeps them small. It keeps them locked into choices they hate. But here's the truth. Saying yes when you mean no will slowly break you down. It chips away at your confidence. It drains your energy. It fills your life with regret. Every yes you give that goes against your truth is a small act of self-betrayal, and that's how people lose themselves. Not all at once, where they stay quiet instead of standing up for what feels right. If you want to grow, you've got to stop negotiating with your inner voice. You've got to stop silencing your instincts just to keep the peace. Real peace doesn't come from avoiding conflict. It comes from being honest about what matters to you. Saying no is powerful. It sends a message. It says you have standards. It says you respect your time. It says you know what you want. And when you live that way, you start attracting people who respect that too. You no longer have to chase approval. You don't need to prove yourself. You just live with clarity. And the right people will recognize it. And yes, some people will be upset. Some will call you selfish. Some will try to guilt you back into the old version of you, the one who said yes to everything. But that's not your responsibility. You don't owe anyone access to your energy just because they're used to getting it. You don't have to make others comfortable at the cost of your own well-being. It's okay to say no to things you used to say yes to. You're allowed to change. You're allowed to evolve. What used to feel okay may no longer fit who you are becoming. That's not a weakness. That's growth. That's awareness. That's how you build a life that's in line with your truth. People who truly care about you will understand your boundaries. They'll respect your choices, even if they don't agree with them. But people who only care about what they get from you, they'll complain, they'll push back. And when that happens, it's not a sign to give in, it's a sign to stand even firmer. You've got to stop apologizing for doing what feels right. You don't need to soften your no with 10 reasons. You don't need to make excuses. You don't need to feel bad. You just need to trust that saying no is an act of self-respect, and self-respect is never the wrong choice. Think about how much time you've wasted doing things you didn't want to do. Think about how many conversations you've had just to avoid confrontation. Think about how many times you walked away feeling drained because you didn't speak up. That's not just about being polite. That's a habit of self-abandonment. And it needs to stop. Every time you say no to something that doesn't feel right, you're saying yes to something more important. Your peace, your time, your values, your health. You're protecting your mind from stress. You're saving your energy for what actually matters. That's not weakness, that's strength. That's maturity. Some of the strongest people in the world are not the ones who say yes to everything. They're the ones who have the courage to walk away, to close the door, to step back from anything that pulls them away from who they really are. And that's what you need to become, someone who doesn't wait for permission to say no when something feels wrong. And don't expect your no to always be welcomed. Some people will test you. They'll try to make you feel guilty. They'll remind you of everything they've done for you. But your boundaries are not a punishment, they're protection. Protection from stress. Protection from guilt. Protection from a life you don't want to live anymore. Saying no isn't cold. It's clear, it's honest, it's mature, and if someone can't handle your no, that's their work to do, not yours. You're not here to carry everyone's expectations. You're not here to sacrifice yourself for the comfort of others. You're here to live your truth and grow into the person you were meant to be. This world will try to distract you. It will pull at you with noise and demand. If you're not careful, you'll end up saying yes to things that have nothing to do with your future, and that's dangerous. Because time doesn't wait. Every yes takes something from you. Time, energy, attention. You don't have unlimited resources. You've got to choose wisely. So take a step back and ask yourself, what am I allowing that's blocking my growth? What do I keep saying yes to that leaves me feeling empty? Who am I constantly making room for when I've got no space left for myself? These questions will change your life if you're brave enough to answer them honestly. And once you have your answers, start acting on them, not next year, not when things settle down, right now. Say no to what doesn't feel right, even if it's hard, even if it's uncomfortable, even if people don't understand it. Because this is your life. No one else has to live with the weight of your decisions except you. Be the kind of person who protects their energy. Be someone who listens when something feels off. Trust that feeling. You don't need a list of reasons. You don't need permission. If it doesn't feel right, it's not right. Say no and move on. That's not selfish. That's self-awareness. And when you start living this way, everything begins to shift. You feel lighter, clearer, stronger. You stop doubting yourself. You stop chasing the wrong things. You stop wasting your days trying to please everyone. You start showing up for yourself in a real way. That's what saying no really does. It gives your life back to you. One decision at a time. One boundary at a time. One clear answer at a time. No guilt, no fear, just truth. Because in the end, the most powerful thing you can do is honor what feels right to you and walk away from what doesn't. Every time you do, you're building the kind of life that's actually worth living. Not perfect, but honest. And that's where real peace begins. Chapter 3. Put your needs first in every situation daily. Putting your needs first is not selfish, it's necessary. If you don't meet your own needs, you can't function at your best. You can't give your energy to anything meaningful if you're constantly drained. You can't be focused when your mind is scattered trying to keep everyone else happy. If you don't prioritize your own well-being, nobody else will. And if you keep putting yourself last, it sends a message to yourself and to the world that you don't matter enough, that your peace can be postponed, that your goals can wait, that your feelings are optional. That's not how a strong life is built. That's how people end up frustrated, tired, bitter, and confused about why nothing is changing. You can't grow when you keep watering everyone else and leave yourself empty. Real change happens when you start to treat your own life with the same care and importance you've been giving to everything else. You have to break the habit of ignoring what you need to feel good, mentally, physically, and emotionally. This isn't about being rude. It's about being responsible. With your time, your health, and your purpose. Putting your needs first means being honest with yourself every day. Not sometimes, not when things fall apart. Every single day. You need to wake up and ask yourself, what do I need today to feel clear? What do I need to feel strong? What do I need to move forward, not just survive the day? These aren't selfish questions. These are the questions that keep you grounded. If you don't ask them, you get pulled into everyone else's world. You lose track of your direction, and your priorities fade into the background. Too many people spend their whole lives playing catch-up because they don't make time for themselves in the present. They're always doing, always running, always saying yes, and then wondering why they feel stuck. But here's what most never say out loud. Nobody's coming to check if you're okay. Nobody's going to knock on your door and say, I see you're tired, take the day off. It's on you to do that. It's your job to protect your energy. It's your job to make sure your needs are respected and your boundaries are clear. The way you treat yourself becomes the standard for how others treat you. If you keep putting your needs on hold, don't be surprised when others do too. If you constantly sacrifice your time and energy for people who wouldn't do the same, you're training them to expect that from you. You're giving away control over your own life. And that creates a cycle where you end up frustrated but don't know how to change it, because you've built a reputation of being the one who always shows up for everyone else but never for yourself. You got to interrupt that cycle. Start making decisions based on what keeps you mentally strong, not just what keeps other people satisfied. If something is pulling you away from your goals or draining your spirit, you have to step back, not later, now. Even if it's uncomfortable, even if someone doesn't like it. Your peace is not up for negotiation. If you don't prioritize it, chaos will find a way to fill your days. Taking care of yourself daily doesn't always mean big changes. It starts with small, consistent actions. Waking up a little earlier to have time to think. Saying no when you're at capacity. Choosing meals that fuel your body instead of just filling it. Turning off notifications when your brain needs rest. Writing your goals down and looking at them every day. These aren't luxuries. They are investments in your stability. Don't wait until you burn out to realize that you were neglecting yourself. That's what too many people do. They push and push until they have nothing left to give, and then they wonder why they're anxious, tired, or depressed. You can't pour from an empty cup, and you can't be your best self if your needs are always last on the list. If you truly want to build a better life, you need to start showing yourself the same urgency and respect you give to others. Stop saying, I'll rest after this week. Stop saying, I'll focus on me once things calm down. Life doesn't slow down for anyone. You've got to create space for yourself, even in the middle of the chaos. You've got to choose yourself, even when everything around you is demanding attention. That's the discipline most people avoid, choosing what's necessary over what's convenient. Most people will always find a reason to keep delaying their needs, but the truth is, the more you delay, the more you lose control of your own direction. Putting your needs first doesn't mean you never help others. It means you help yourself first, so you're strong enough to give from a place of wholeness, not exhaustion. It means you're no longer available for everything. You're no longer running on guilt. You're living from a place of clarity. You know your limits. You know your direction. And most importantly, you know your worth. This kind of mindset doesn't happen overnight. It's a choice you make over and over. Every morning you remind yourself, I matter. My time matters. My energy matters. My goals are real. My peace is important. That's not arrogance. That's clarity. That's growth. And that's how people stop feeling lost. They stop pretending they're okay when they're not. They stop saying yes when they're breaking inside. They stop living like everyone else's needs are more important than their own. You teach people how to treat you by how you treat yourself. If you keep showing the world that your needs come second, don't expect to be seen. Don't expect to be heard. You've got to show up for yourself first before anyone else can do it for you. You don't need to be loud about it. You don't need to explain it. You just need to do it, quietly, consistently, and unapologetically. And the more you do it, the stronger you become. You start walking differently. You start thinking differently. You start speaking up when something doesn't sit right. You stop feeling guilty for saying no. You start creating a life that reflects your values instead of just reacting to the demands of others. That's where confidence comes from, knowing that no matter what happens, you'll always show up for yourself. So build that habit. Every single day, put yourself on your own schedule. Show up for your goals. Make time for silence. Make time for planning. Make time for recovery. Make time for learning. That's how you grow. That's how you stop living on autopilot and start building the life you actually want. Don't wait until you're falling apart to finally take care of yourself. Don't wait until something breaks to finally admit that you need space. Your needs are not a burden. They are a part of your design. Ignoring them doesn't make you strong. Facing them does. Owning them does. Protecting them does. And if you're surrounded by people who make you feel guilty for putting yourself first, maybe it's time to question if those people should be that close to you. Real relationships, the kind that help you grow, are not built on self-sacrifice. They're built on mutual respect. And that starts with you respecting yourself. Today is a chance to shift, to realign, to choose yourself. Not once a week, not on special occasions. Every day, every situation, every moment. Because if you don't, no one else will. And the longer you wait, the harder it gets. Not because you're weak, but because habits get stronger the longer you feed them. So stop feeding the habit of self-neglect. Start building the habit of self-priority. Your future will thank you. Chapter 4. Give yourself space to grow without outside pressure. You don't need anyone's timeline to grow. You don't have to explain your pace. You don't need to match how fast someone else is moving. Growth isn't a race. It's personal. It's real. And it only works when you give yourself enough space to go at your own rhythm. Too many people are trying to improve themselves while carrying the weight of what others expect them to be. That pressure ruins progress. It turns growth into performance. And once you're performing, you're no longer changing for yourself. You're changing to be accepted. There's nothing healthy about pretending you're further along than you are. There's nothing honest about chasing speed instead of depth. If you're always looking around to see how you compare, you'll never get the clarity to look within. That's where the real work happens. Not outside, not in public, but in quiet moments where you ask yourself what actually matters to you. Not what looks good, not what gets applause, what feels true. You've got to allow yourself to grow without noise, without trying to meet someone else's expectations, without trying to fit into an image that isn't even yours. That's the freedom most people never give themselves. They're always in a rush to prove something. But who are they really proving it to? Strangers online? Family members who never understood them? People they don't even talk to anymore? You've got to let all of that go. Give yourself permission to grow slowly, to grow differently, to grow with intention. Some changes take time. Some seasons are quiet. Some parts of your life will feel like nothing is moving, but inside, everything is shifting. That's not failure. That's the foundation being rebuilt. Outside pressure can be loud. It tells you what you should be doing by now, where you should be in life, how you should look, what you should own. It never stops, and if you listen to it too long, you start living for the checklist. You forget to ask, is this what I want? Is this helping me become the person I respect? You start living to avoid judgment instead of living with purpose. Real growth isn't always visible. Some days, growth looks like doing nothing so your mind can rest. Some days it's walking away from an argument that doesn't deserve your energy. Some days it's saying no to an opportunity that looks good but doesn't feel right. These aren't the kind of wins that people talk about. But they are wins, because they prove that you're no longer reacting to pressure. You're responding with awareness. You've got to take your attention back. Stop giving it to voices that don't know you. Stop looking for approval in places that never gave you peace. Pressure loses its power when you stop feeding it. You don't need to live your life proving you're good enough. You're already enough as you are, right now. Growth isn't about fixing who you are. It's about building on who you've always been. And here's what people don't say enough. You're allowed to take a step back. You're allowed to disappear for a while. You're allowed to not have it all figured out. Growth is not a straight line. It's messy, it's full of mistakes, it's confusing, but it's real and it works. When you give it the space it needs. You don't owe anyone updates. You don't have to explain every decision. You don't have to make your progress visible to make it valid. Some of the strongest growth happens in private, in the quiet, in the stillness. That's where your mindset shifts. That's where your strength gets built. That's where you learn to trust yourself again. If you're always surrounded by pressure, you never hear your own thoughts. You start acting like someone else. You start choosing things that look right on paper but feel wrong in your heart. That's the danger of pressure. It makes you forget who you are just to become what others want. You've got to reclaim your voice. You've got to remind yourself that you don't need to match anyone's journey. Yours is enough. Your lessons are valid. Your story matters, even if it's slower, quieter, or different than what's expected. You don't have to chase pace. You just need to stay grounded in what's real for you. Give yourself a life where you can breathe, a life where your progress is not judged by likes or opinions, a life where you can fall, learn, and try again without shame. That space is rare. That space is sacred. But it starts with one decision: to stop living under pressure and start living with purpose. You can feel it when you're forcing yourself to grow too fast. You're anxious. You're tense. You're not enjoying anything. You're just moving because you're scared to fall behind. But fall behind what? A standard you didn't even create? A version of success that doesn't even match what you want? That's why space matters. Space gives you the power to ask better questions, to check your direction, to adjust your priorities. You can't do that when you're sprinting through your days. You can't reflect when you're performing for everyone else. Growth without reflection is just repetition. It doesn't change you, it exhausts you. Slow down and listen. What do you actually need right now? What kind of energy do you want to be around? What kind of life would make you feel proud when you look back at it? These questions don't come from pressure. They come from clarity. And clarity only comes when you get quiet enough to hear yourself. You're allowed to set boundaries that protect your space. You're allowed to say, "This is my time to work on me." You're allowed to step away from anything that rushes your process. The people who matter won't rush you. They'll support your need for space. They'll understand that you're not ignoring life. You're preparing for it. You're building something strong. And strong things aren't rushed. If you want lasting change, you've got to slow down. You've got to stop chasing noise. You've got to stop reacting to pressure like it's an emergency. It's not. Most of it is just distraction, pulling you further away from your real path. But once you start giving yourself space, you begin to reconnect with what matters. You begin to trust your own timeline, and you'll find that the more space you give yourself, the less pressure controls you. You stop needing constant feedback. You stop doubting every move. You stop trying to meet invisible standards. You grow into yourself at your pace, in your way, with your values. That kind of growth lasts. It doesn't shake when life gets hard. It stays firm. Because it was built on your truth, not outside pressure. You don't need to rush to prove you're improving. You don't need to shrink to fit someone else's comfort. You don't need to meet every expectation that's placed on you. You need room to think, room to feel, room to become. Give yourself that room. Make it a daily habit. Make it your priority. Because in that space where pressure fades, you become who you were always meant to be.
Chapter 5. Speak honestly about what you really want now. If you're going to move forward in life, you have to stop hiding what you really want. You can't keep pretending that you're okay settling for less. You can't keep agreeing with things that go against your values. You can't keep saying it's fine when deep down it isn't. That kind of silence will drain you from the inside out. If you're not honest about what you want, you'll spend your life chasing things you don't even care about. And eventually, it'll catch up with you. The frustration, the burnout, the feeling of being stuck, most of it comes from holding back your truth. There's nothing strong about keeping quiet when your heart is asking for more. There's nothing noble about pretending your dreams don't matter. Speaking honestly about what you want isn't selfish, it's responsible, it's brave, it's necessary, because no one else can read your mind, no one else can live your life for you, and no one else can create your future unless you say what you actually want. Most people don't say it out loud because they're scared of judgment, scared of rejection, scared of looking too ambitious. But if fear keeps your voice small, your life stays small. If you keep pushing your desires to the side, they don't disappear, they just show up later as regret, and regret weighs more than honesty ever will. You don't have to scream to be heard, but you do have to speak. You do have to say, this is what I want, not because you need someone's approval, but because your clarity is the foundation for your choices. If you're not clear, your actions become random, your time gets wasted, your energy goes to things that don't grow you. That's what happens when you're not honest with yourself. Ask yourself right now, what do you really want? Not what looks good, not what's safe, not what others expect from you. What do you genuinely want your life to look like? What would you go after if no one had anything to say about it? If that answer makes you uncomfortable, you're being real, and that's where your power begins. Speaking honestly doesn't mean having all the answers. It just means being willing to tell the truth about where you are and where you want to go. It means looking at your current life and admitting what doesn't fit. It means stopping the habit of downplaying your goals just to make other people feel comfortable. You can't keep adjusting your voice to avoid upsetting people. You can't keep shrinking your dreams to protect someone else's feelings. You're not here to keep the peace by betraying yourself. You're here to live fully. And full living only happens when you tell the truth, especially the uncomfortable kind. You don't have to be aggressive to be honest. You just have to be clear. Say what you want without dressing it up, without softening it to make it easier to hear, without second-guessing it the moment it leaves your mouth. Your words have weight when they come from a place of real intention, and don't just speak it to others, speak it to yourself. Write it down, say it in the mirror. Get used to hearing yourself tell the truth, because the more you do that, the stronger your direction becomes. You stop wasting time, you stop living in confusion, you stop settling for what's available, and start building what you want. The world will try to convince you that you should be satisfied with what you have. And yes, you should be grateful, but gratitude doesn't mean denial. Gratitude doesn't mean you stop growing. Gratitude and ambition can exist together. You can appreciate the present and still want more for your future. Don't let anyone guilt you into thinking that desire is a weakness. Honesty makes things clear. It helps you make better decisions. When you know what you want, you don't chase attention, you chase results. You don't fall into distractions, you stay focused, and you don't waste your time in relationships, jobs or routines that don't align with your goals. That kind of clarity is priceless, and it all starts with being real about what you want. You'll face resistance. People will question you. They'll say you've changed. They'll wonder why you're suddenly speaking up. That's not a sign to back down. That's a sign that you're finally choosing yourself. Don't let their confusion become your hesitation. Just because they don't understand doesn't mean you're wrong. You're not here to be silent. You're not here to be small. You're not here to live a life designed by other people. You have ideas. You have preferences. You have dreams. Speak them. Claim them. Use your voice to move your life forward. Because if you don't speak up now, you'll keep waiting for a moment that may never come, and that delay will cost you. Speak honestly in your relationships. Say what you need. Say what you expect. Say what hurts. Stop pretending that everything is okay when it's not. That kind of silence destroys connection. Real connection is built on truth, even when it's hard to say, even when it creates tension, because honesty brings growth, and growth brings trust. Speak honestly about your goals. Don't water them down. Don't apologize for having high standards. Don't act like it's a problem to want more. You don't need to explain why you're aiming higher. You don't need to make excuses for wanting to elevate your life. Just do it, and say it out loud. That's how you build the discipline to follow through. Speak honestly with yourself. Stop lying about how much time you're wasting. Stop acting like you're okay with things you hate. Stop calling it fine when it's draining you every day. Get real. That kind of truth might hurt for a moment, but it will set you free. It will give you the power to shift your life in a real way. This isn't about being perfect. It's about being honest, and honesty leads to progress. When you stop pretending, you start moving. You stop stalling. You stop repeating patterns. You start making choices that support your truth. That's what changes everything. If you want to live with confidence, you've got to stop hiding behind vague words and safe answers. Speak clearly. Say, this is what I want. This is what I'm working for. This is what matters to me. Own it. Don't whisper it. Don't water it down. Say it like you mean it. And understand this. Your honesty will make some people uncomfortable. That's okay. You're not here to keep everyone comfortable. You're here to become the best version of yourself. And that version only shows up when you stop hiding behind silence and start speaking like your future depends on it. Because it does. Your future depends on your voice. It depends on your clarity. It depends on your courage to say what others are too afraid to admit. Don't live quiet, just because loud truth feels risky. Take the risk, speak what's real, and let your life reflect what you truly want, not what you've been told to accept.
Chapter 6. Spend time alone to understand your real self. You will never truly know yourself if you never spend time alone. Not just physically alone, but mentally and emotionally away from the noise. You need time without opinions, without distractions, without outside influence constantly shaping your thoughts, because most of what people think they believe isn't even theirs. It's what they've absorbed from others, from their family, from the internet, from people they've never even met. And the longer you live that way, the more distant you become from who you really are. That's why silence matters. That's why solitude is necessary. Without it, you live on autopilot, reacting to the world instead of understanding yourself. Spending time alone isn't about being isolated. It's about reconnecting with the thoughts you've been too busy to notice, reconnecting with your own voice without being interrupted by 1,000 others. That voice gets buried under stress, under deadlines, under constant stimulation. If you don't pause, you lose sight of it. You stop hearing what you actually think and start repeating what everyone else is saying. Solitude gives you the space to ask real questions, not the surface-level ones, but the deep ones that most people avoid. What do I really want from this life? What do I keep avoiding? What am I still holding on to that no longer serves me? These questions don't come up when you're scrolling your phone or filling your schedule just to avoid quiet. They come when the world is quiet and you're finally still enough to face yourself. Most people fear being alone, not because they hate silence, but because they don't want to confront what's inside. They don't want to feel what's been sitting in the background. But that discomfort is the doorway to growth. That's where your patterns show up. That's where your truths become clear. That's where you begin to understand what you've been pretending doesn't matter. You can't grow if you don't know yourself.
And you can't know yourself if you never stop to listen. Solitude is how you remove the layers, the roles, the pressure. It's where you meet the real version of you, the one behind all the opinions, behind all the expectations. That version may feel unfamiliar at first, but that's only because you've been distracted for too long. The more time you spend in solitude, the more you remember what matters to you, not just what you've been told should matter. You start to realize what drains you, what lights you up, what feels forced, what feels natural. These are not answers someone else can give you. You only find them by turning inward, by creating room for your thoughts to rise to the surface without judgment or interruption. Solitude isn't about escaping the world. It's about learning how to live in it with more clarity. When you spend time alone with real intention, you begin to recognize your habits, your fears, your insecurities. Not to shame yourself, but to better understand what's guiding your actions. You begin to see the difference between your instincts and your conditioning. That's how self-awareness is built, through honest time with yourself. When you understand your own patterns, you stop blaming other people for everything. You stop reacting based on emotion. You stop chasing validation. You stop filling your days with distractions that only create more confusion. And instead, you move through life with intention. You speak from clarity. You choose based on what aligns with your values, not just what's easy or popular. That kind of self-knowing doesn't come from books. It doesn't come from listening to others talk about their journey. It comes from you showing up for yourself consistently, sitting in the quiet, even when it's uncomfortable, letting the silence show you what's really going on inside. That's where real personal power begins, not in how much you do, but in how well you understand the person doing it. And here's what most people miss. Spending time alone isn't something you do once. It's something you build into your life regularly. You schedule it like you would a meeting or a workout, because it's just as important. You use that time to reset, to check in, to reflect on how you're actually doing, not how you say you're doing when people ask. In that space, you get honest, and honesty creates change. You begin to notice your thoughts without reacting to them. You see which ones are helpful and which ones keep you stuck. You learn how to separate your identity from your emotions. You start building a relationship with yourself that's based on truth, not noise. That's where self-trust comes from, not from perfection, but from repeated moments of showing up, listening and adjusting. You also begin to appreciate your own company. You realize you don't need to constantly be around people to feel secure. You learn how to enjoy your own presence, how to recharge without external validation. That kind of confidence is quiet, but it's unshakable. It's built in the stillness, not the spotlight. People who avoid being alone often struggle to make clear decisions. They second-guess themselves. They depend on other people's opinions. They feel restless when nothing is happening. But once you learn to spend time alone with intention, all of that begins to shift. You become more centered. You make clearer choices. You no longer panic when things slow down. You use that space to reconnect. You'll also realize that not everything needs a reaction, that not every moment needs to be filled. That silence isn't empty. It's full of answers. It gives your nervous system a break. It clears your mind. It helps you breathe deeper. That kind of peace isn't found in more noise or more speed. It's found in simplicity, in presence, in solitude. And once you start experiencing that peace, you begin to protect it. You start saying no to people who constantly drain your energy. You start avoiding situations that create noise without purpose. You start choosing quiet moments over forced connections, not because you're antisocial, but because you've tasted real clarity, and you don't want to give that up. The truth is, the more time you spend understanding yourself, the less you tolerate what goes against your peace. You start noticing when something doesn't feel right. You trust your instincts more. You stop outsourcing your decisions. You build a life that reflects who you actually are, not who you've been pretending to be. And that kind of life is worth everything. It's built with intention. It's lived with awareness. It's shaped by your truth. But it starts in silence, in solitude, in moments where you choose to listen instead of scroll, to reflect instead of distract, to reconnect instead of perform. So make that time, create that space, get to know the real you, without the filters, without the roles, without the noise. That's the version of you that's waiting to grow. That's the version of you that's built to lead your life, and you'll only find it when you finally sit with yourself and decide to listen. Chapter 7. Protect your peace from people who drain you. There comes a point where you have to stop letting people drain your peace. Not because you're angry, not because you want to create distance, but because you finally realize your energy is not unlimited. You can't keep giving parts of yourself to people who bring stress, negativity, and constant chaos into your life. That is not strength. That is slow self-destruction. Your peace is your responsibility, and protecting it isn't optional if you want to live a steady and meaningful life. Some people will never change, but they'll keep coming back if you keep the door open. They'll keep unloading their problems onto you. They'll keep crossing your boundaries because you never firmly closed the gate. You've got to stop expecting people to manage your peace for you. They won't. If they benefit from your exhaustion, they'll keep pulling from it. And if you don't speak up or step back, they'll assume it's okay. They'll assume you're fine, even when you're not. That's why it's on you to make a different choice. Peace doesn't just happen. You don't stumble into it. You create it. You protect it. You defend it. And most of the time, the threat isn't the world. It's the people close to you. People who drain you with constant negativity. People who expect you to carry their emotions. People who only reach out when they need something. People who never ask how you're doing, but expect you to listen every time they're falling apart. You've got to start recognizing the patterns. Who leaves you feeling tense after every conversation? Who do you dread hearing from, even though you keep replying out of habit? Who brings up the same problems over and over without ever changing? These people are not adding peace to your life. They're removing it, and you've been allowing it in the name of being nice, supportive, or available. But being kind doesn't mean being used, and being understanding doesn't mean being drained. You don't need to make a scene to create distance. You don't need to fight to protect your peace. You just need to set the boundary and hold it. That means limiting your availability. That means not responding to every message immediately. That means stepping away from conversations that feel like emotional dumping grounds, not with guilt, but with clarity, because you're not rejecting the person. You're choosing not to carry what doesn't belong to you. There's a difference between being a support system and being someone's emotional dumping ground. The first is healthy, the second is harmful, and if you've been playing the role of the second, it's time to stop. You are not responsible for everyone's problems. You're not their therapist. You're not their fixer. You're a person with your own needs, your own emotions, your own limits. And if someone refuses to respect those, they should not have easy access to your space. Peace requires decisions. You've got to choose what you let into your mind. You've got to choose who gets your time. You've got to choose which conversations are worth having. And if someone consistently leaves you feeling worse, it's not your job to fix them. It's your job to protect yourself. It's your job to be aware of what you're absorbing, because energy is contagious. And if you spend too much time around negativity, you start carrying it even when you're alone. Some people will drain you and then blame you for needing space. They'll call you distant. They'll say you've changed. But that's because they don't benefit from your boundaries. They don't know how to exist around you if you're not constantly available to carry their emotional weight. That's not your fault, and that's not your problem. People who respect you will respect your need for peace, even if it means they don't get what they want from you. Protecting your peace might mean spending more time alone. It might mean fewer phone calls. It might mean walking away from relationships that used to feel safe, but no longer align with who you're becoming. It might mean saying no without an explanation. That kind of clarity is not cold. It's healthy. It's how you take back control over your energy. If you always feel heavy after interacting with certain people, pay attention. That's your nervous system signaling a problem. You weren't meant to feel drained just because someone else refuses to do their inner work. You can support someone without sacrificing your own well-being. You can listen with empathy without carrying their chaos with you into the rest of your day. That balance is learned, and it starts when you stop trying to please everyone and start honoring your emotional limits. People may not understand at first. They might accuse you of being cold or selfish, but their reaction doesn't change your truth. You are allowed to protect your mental and emotional health without guilt. You are allowed to say, "This isn't good for me," and step back. The peace you build through those decisions will be worth it, because you'll feel lighter, you'll think more clearly, you'll sleep better, you'll stop second-guessing yourself. That's what peace does. It creates space for everything good to grow. Stop normalizing exhaustion in the name of loyalty. Stop thinking you have to be strong enough to handle everything. That's not strength, that's burnout. And when you're burned out, you can't show up for anyone, not even yourself. That's why peace matters. That's why boundaries matter. That's why you can't keep waiting for someone else to change their behavior. You've got to be the one who makes the shift. Your time is limited. Your attention is valuable. Your energy is sacred. Start treating it like it matters. Not everyone deserves full access to you. Not every connection needs to be maintained. Some people are better loved from a distance, or not at all. And that's not cruel. That's clarity. That's you choosing peace over people-pleasing. That's you choosing a healthier life. You will never regret protecting your peace. You will never regret taking a step back from what drains you. You will never regret choosing your emotional health over someone else's expectations. What you will regret is continuing to allow the wrong people to take from you while you stay quiet. What you will regret is giving and giving until there's nothing left for yourself. Start today. Look at your relationships. Look at your conversations. Look at where your energy goes. If it doesn't support your peace, it doesn't deserve your access. Be clear, be kind, but be firm, because no one else can protect your peace but you. And the longer you wait, the more damage is done. Peace is not a luxury, it's a necessity. Build it, guard it, and never feel bad for doing so. Your future depends on it, your purpose depends on it, and your happiness, real happiness, begins the moment you stop letting people drain the peace you worked so hard to build.
Chapter 8. Do something today that makes you feel proud. There's something powerful about ending your day feeling proud of what you did. Not because someone praised you, not because you posted it online, but because you know deep down you showed up for yourself, you made a move forward, you didn't waste the day. That kind of pride builds confidence, and confidence built through effort never leaves you. It stays, it grows, it shapes who you become. That's why what you choose to do today matters more than what you plan to do someday. You don't need a huge plan to feel proud. You don't need to wait for a big win or a perfect setup. Pride doesn't come from perfection. It comes from doing what you said you'd do. It comes from knowing you didn't sit around waiting for motivation. You took action. You made the most of the time you had. You stopped talking and started moving. That's the difference between another average day and a meaningful one. And that decision is always in your hands. Most people waste days waiting to feel ready, but readiness is overrated. Action is what matters. When you do something, anything that lines up with who you want to be, you create momentum, even if it's small, especially when it's small. One clear step taken with intention is better than 100 vague ideas that stay in your head, because steps stack, discipline compounds, and pride starts to build when you know you didn't let the day slip by. You want to build real self-respect. Do the things you know are good for you, even when no one's watching. That's what makes the difference. It's easy to talk, it's easy to make plans, but doing something today, something real, something that moves the needle, that's what earns your own respect. And that's the only kind that really matters. This isn't about working non-stop. It's not about burning out. It's about choosing a task, a habit, a conversation, a commitment that pushes you in the right direction. Maybe it's making that phone call you've been avoiding. Maybe it's finishing the workout you told yourself you didn't have time for. Maybe it's starting that goal you keep pushing into tomorrow. Maybe it's simply cleaning your space to feel more clear. It doesn't have to be complicated. It just has to be done. And the beauty is, when you do something that makes you proud, it changes how you carry yourself. You speak differently. You think more clearly. You walk into the next task with more belief, because now you have evidence. Evidence that you can follow through, that you can show up, that you're not waiting to be rescued. You're building your own way forward, one decision at a time. Some people will spend years avoiding that feeling. They'll chase distractions. They'll stay busy, but never effective. They'll be tired every night, but never satisfied, because they're doing a lot, but they're not doing what matters. You don't want that life. You want to end your day with a clear mind. You want to look back and know, I gave something today. I didn't fold. I didn't run. I chose growth, even in a small way. Doing something today that makes you proud builds emotional strength, because when you can count on yourself to act, even when it's uncomfortable, you don't need the world to push you. You push yourself. You trust your own word. You stop breaking promises to yourself. That kind of trust creates consistency, and consistency over time builds real success, not loud success,
but stable success, quiet wins, daily improvements, a life you actually feel good living. And here's the hard truth: no one else can give you that. You can't borrow pride. You can't fake discipline. You either did the thing or you didn't, and only you know the truth. That's why today matters. Not someday, not when it's easier. Today. You don't need more time. You need more honesty. Ask yourself right now, what's one thing I can do today that my future self will thank me for? Not something huge, just something true. It could be choosing not to argue, choosing to write, choosing to walk, choosing to finish, choosing to start, choosing to be honest with yourself. Every decision matters, every move counts, and every small action shapes who you're becoming. Stop saying, "I'll start tomorrow." That mindset has already cost you enough. You can't keep postponing your life, waiting for the perfect mood. Discipline isn't something you wake up with, it's something you build, and you build it by doing the hard thing when it's easier to avoid it. You build it by acting when your mind gives you every excuse to delay. That's how you grow, not by being motivated, but by doing the work even when you're not. The more you do it, the more natural it becomes, and the more natural it becomes, the less you rely on willpower. You just show up, because showing up is who you are now. Pride doesn't come from shortcuts, it comes from effort, and you can feel it when you've earned it. It shows up when you lie down at night, knowing you didn't waste the day. That kind of peace isn't loud, but it's strong, it's solid. It builds over time and becomes a foundation you can stand on, no matter what life throws at you. No one needs to clap for you. You don't need validation. You don't need applause. You need progress. You need a reason to look in the mirror and respect what you see. And that starts by doing the thing you promised yourself you'd do. It starts by finishing what you keep pushing aside. It starts by turning thoughts into actions. Not tomorrow, now. And don't underestimate the value of small wins. Every great transformation started with a small decision someone stuck with. It's not the size of the move, it's the intention behind it. When you act with purpose, even on a small task, it wakes something up inside you. It says, "I matter, my time matters, my life is worth building." That mindset will take you further than any external motivation ever could. So take a moment and ask yourself, what can I do today that makes me proud before this day ends? What action would make me feel like I took control? What step could I take that shows I'm serious about my growth? You already know the answer. It's been sitting in the back of your mind, waiting for your decision. Choose it. Do it. Not for anyone else. Not for the image. For you. So you can end the day with pride. So you can walk into tomorrow with proof that you are no longer avoiding your life. You are living it. You are shaping it. One action at a time. That's how people change. That's how legacies are built. That's how real success begins. Not with a big moment, but with a small decision made again and again, starting now. Chapter 9. Choose actions that respect your goals and values. Every choice you make is either moving you closer to your goals or pulling you further away. There's no in-between. There's no pause button in life. Every decision counts, even the ones that seem small. That's why your actions must respect your goals and values. Not just once in a while, not only when it's convenient, but daily, consistently, quietly, honestly. That's how real growth is built. You don't need to be perfect, but you do need to be intentional. You can't keep saying you want to change your life while making choices that keep you stuck in the same place. The first thing you have to do is get clear about what your goals actually are. Not what sounds good, not what impresses others, not what someone else told you to chase. Your real goals, the ones that align with who you are, the ones that reflect what actually matters to you. Because if you're not clear, you'll end up spending years chasing things that were never meant for you, and you'll wake up one day realizing that all your effort went to building a life that doesn't even feel like yours. Once you know your goals, the next step is to protect them with your actions. That means making hard decisions. That means walking away from things that distract you. That means being honest about what you're doing each day and whether or not it reflects what you say you care about. If your actions and your values don't match, something needs to change, and the change starts with you. It's not about being extreme, it's about being consistent. If health is a value, then what you eat, how you sleep, and how often you move matters. If honesty is a value, then your words and your behavior should reflect truth, not convenience. If freedom is a goal, then your time needs to be used wisely, not wasted on things that give temporary comfort but permanent regret. You've got to stop telling yourself stories about who you are and start showing it through how you live. People get stuck because they want the result without the discipline. They want clarity but keep choosing distractions. They want respect but don't act in ways that earn it. That's the gap between where you are and where you want to be. Your actions, your daily habits, the little decisions you make when no one's watching. That's the truth. That's the part you can't fake. Choosing actions that respect your goals doesn't always feel exciting. In fact, it often feels boring, repetitive, quiet. But that's what builds strength. That's what builds results that last. It's not the big flashy moves. It's the small, steady ones. The things you do over and over again that align with your purpose. Those are the decisions that make a difference. And when you start living that way, something changes inside you. You stop chasing motivation. You start creating standards. You stop making excuses. You start owning your time. That shift is powerful. It means you're no longer living by reaction. You're living by design. You're no longer depending on how you feel to decide what to do. You're acting based on who you want to become. Ask yourself this: are your actions matching your vision? Are your routines pushing you toward the life you want? Or are they keeping you stuck in a loop? It's not about being busy, it's about being aligned. You can fill every hour of your day and still be going nowhere if your actions don't respect your values. That's the danger of distraction. It feels productive, but it leads you nowhere. So how do you shift? You start by choosing one moment each day where you act in full alignment with your goals. Maybe it's a morning routine that grounds you. Maybe it's a conversation you've been avoiding. Maybe it's setting a boundary that protects your time. Whatever it is, do it with intention. Do it because it reflects who you want to be, not who you've been. Over time, these choices build identity. You become someone who follows through, someone who makes decisions based on principle, not pressure, someone who doesn't compromise just to fit in or feel comfortable. That's real strength. That's real character. And that's how trust in yourself is earned. You also have to be willing to let go of things that no longer align with your path. Sometimes that means people. Sometimes it means habits. Sometimes it means plans you were once excited about but no longer match who you're becoming. Letting go isn't failure. It's clarity. It's choosing long-term alignment over short-term comfort. And the more you practice that, the more focused you become. You can't keep living by impulse if your goal is to grow. You can't keep choosing what feels good now and expect long-term results. Growth comes with sacrifice. It comes with discipline. It comes with the ability to say, "This doesn't serve me anymore," and walking away without guilt. That's how you protect your energy. That's how you keep your path clean. That's how you build a life that reflects your real standards. And don't let setbacks distract you. You're not going to get it right every time, but what matters is the pattern. What matters is the overall direction. If you slip, get up. If you get off track, get real with yourself and get back in motion. One wrong turn doesn't cancel your progress. Quitting does. So don't quit. Realign, refocus, and keep acting like your life matters, because it does. The more your actions reflect your values, the more peace you'll feel. Not because everything gets easier, but because everything starts to make sense. You no longer feel scattered. You no longer wonder if you're wasting time. You know what you're working toward, and you know why. That clarity is priceless. It gives you strength to say no to what doesn't fit, and to stay steady even when progress feels slow. Every day is a chance to prove to yourself that your values are not just words, they're choices. They're reflected in how you treat others, how you show up, how you respond when things get hard. If your goal is to grow, then your habits have to grow with you. If your goal is peace, then your behavior must support peace. If your goal is purpose, then your choices must support discipline and direction. This isn't something you do once. It's a way of living. It's a commitment to self-respect. It's about saying, "I don't just talk about what matters to me, I live it." That kind of integrity builds confidence that no one can take from you, because it's not based on appearance, it's based on action. So decide what kind of life you want. Decide what values matter to you. Decide what goals are worth the effort, and then act like it. Not when you feel like it. Every day, especially on the days when it's hard, because those are the days when growth really happens. It's not about doing everything. It's about doing the right things, the things that match who you are and who you're becoming. That's what creates a life of meaning. That's what creates real fulfillment. And it all starts with one simple decision, to choose actions that respect your goals and values, starting today. Chapter 10. Show up for yourself even on hard days. There are going to be days when everything feels heavy, days when nothing flows, days when the motivation isn't there and your mind wants to give you 100 reasons to stop trying. And it's on those days, not the easy ones, that you must decide to show up for yourself. Not because it feels good, not because you're in the mood, but because you've made a commitment to become someone who doesn't give up on their own life. It's easy to take action when everything feels aligned. It's easy to do the work when energy is high and the results come quickly. But what defines your growth is how you respond when it's difficult, when your body is tired, when your thoughts are scattered, when you feel alone. Those moments test your strength more than any big win ever will. And the people who learn to show up for themselves during those seasons are the ones who end up changing everything, not all at once, but slowly, consistently, without needing applause. You don't need to move mountains on a hard day, but you need to move something. You need to take at least one step that says, I haven't given up. That might mean writing when the words don't come easily. It might mean exercising when every part of you would rather stay still. It might mean preparing a healthy meal when it would be easier to eat whatever is fast and available. The action doesn't need to be big. It just needs to be honest. Every time you show up when it's hard, you build something inside that no one can see. It's quiet, it's internal, but it's real. It's the voice that says, I can trust myself. It's the proof that your growth isn't dependent on comfort, and that changes how you see yourself. You stop waiting for the perfect conditions. You stop telling yourself the story that things have to feel right before you do what's right. One of the biggest mistakes people make is thinking they need to feel strong to act strong. The truth is, the action comes first. The strength follows. You build it by doing the work even when your energy is low and your doubts are loud. That's how confidence is earned, not by avoiding the struggle, but by going through it and refusing to quit. There will be times when your effort feels invisible. No one sees how much it took just to get out of bed. No one notices the small decisions you made to stay consistent. But that doesn't mean it doesn't matter. Those moments count. They count more than you realize, because that's how transformation happens, in quiet, private, unglamorous moments when no one is watching and you choose to keep going anyway. And no, it doesn't always feel rewarding in the moment. Sometimes it feels pointless. Sometimes it feels like you're stuck in place. But progress isn't always loud. Growth doesn't always shout. Often it's happening when you think nothing is working. Often you're getting stronger just by holding yourself together long enough to take the next step. You have to stop treating hard days like dead ends. They're not the end of your momentum. They're part of the process. Everyone has them. No one is immune. What separates people isn't how many bad days they have. It's what they do with them. Some shut down. Others push through. You have that choice every time. When life hits hard, your job isn't to pretend you're unaffected. Your job is to adjust and keep showing up in a way that respects where you are without quitting on where you're going. Maybe you can't do everything today, but you can do something. You can stay in the game. You can give what you have. That's what matters. Not perfection, participation. It's about effort, not ease. It's about showing up with whatever energy you have and letting that be enough. The mistake is thinking that if you can't give your best, you shouldn't try at all. That thinking kills consistency. That thinking teaches you to rely on feelings. But showing up when it's hard teaches you to rely on decisions, real decisions made from commitment, not emotion. And here's what's powerful. Every time you show up on a hard day, the next hard day gets a little easier. Not because the challenges go away, but because you know you've handled them before. You've faced discomfort, you've worked through it, and you've kept your word to yourself. That memory becomes your strength. That experience becomes your armor. The relationship you have with yourself is built through these moments. It's built when you don't run from the work. It's built when you say, I matter enough to keep going, even when it's not ideal. That's self-respect. That's what changes your identity. Because once you become someone who shows up no matter what, you stop fearing struggle, you stop doubting your ability to grow, you realize your strength doesn't come from perfect conditions, it comes from your persistence. And persistence isn't loud, it's not flashy, it's not about huge achievements every single day, it's about not disappearing when things get heavy, it's about keeping your focus when you feel distracted, it's about returning to your routines, even after a setback. That kind of discipline builds momentum, and momentum, even when small, creates real results. Don't let a hard day fool you into thinking you're not moving forward. The fact that you're even thinking about how to push through means you haven't quit. You're still in it. You're still choosing growth. And that's what matters most, not how smooth the road is, but how often you keep walking it. There's pride in effort. There's strength in consistency. There's something powerful about knowing you didn't give in when it got tough. That strength carries over into every area of your life. It builds emotional resilience. It builds mental toughness. It creates a version of you that doesn't fold under pressure. And don't mistake rest for weakness. Showing up for yourself also means knowing when to pause, when to take a breath, when to recover, so you can return stronger. Rest is not quitting. It's part of the process. What matters is that you don't abandon the process. What matters is that even when you rest, you're resting with purpose, not avoiding the work. So whatever you're facing today, show up in the way that you can. Show up with the energy you have. Show up because you've decided your future is worth the effort, even if no one else sees it, even if it feels hard, even if progress is slow. This is your life. This is your responsibility. Werken today handording of Jared's Wyatt stock and 100 piece per karen. God's Lord meal da. Dording sininius pel pukjut sinidin no. The what had luvelai, Dording of tukampetet fowering capisable copso. This produced of Isev's ember. It dot of dildal puxer umpted you haven't struggle. Sufficing just one part recove becot. Doft to biddy of sauce. Does follow been sluckers picket what tumbuse miklet tumbuse particles water command. Does petted fibius stipple your sets to be sick. One aquad stove to jeeks. Nudies wax packet what up in stepacute is poddles vice. Die times die stool, patch lad stibby of fatch for van plutton final. Plutkin to the legig orks of yun stoken what tebby of the pincers. Fatally baladio starkting. Platster of tears well port. What it did do documental war. And how you show up when it's hard is what defines how far you'll go. Choose not to disappear. Choose not to wait for better timing. Choose to act anyway. That's how discipline is built. That's how confidence grows. That's how you earn the life you want. Not by wishing for it on good days, but by fighting for it on hard ones. Keep showing up. Keep choosing yourself. That's how real change begins. And that's how it lasts.